Riveting content. Empowering your life. Welcome to the Sphere. This episode is sponsored by
True Digital Media Consulting. You're online right now and so are your customers, but marketing has to be a consistent journey. True Digital Media Consulting can help with your online ads, organic growth, and so much more. Contact us today at 832-934-4436 or visit our website at truedigitalmediaconsulting.com.
Looking to advertise? Join the Sphere's vast demographic reach of thousands of people all over the world. Send an email today to advertise@thesphere.tv or call us at area code 832-772-7789. KOG and Company. Are your unique gifts and talents changing the world? Do you desire to belong to a community of unity? Visit KOGpassion.com to learn more about the Unleash Your Dopeness movement.
What up? What's up, you guys? Welcome to another week here at the Docs Podcast on the Sphere Podcast Network. Thank you guys so much for joining us again for another week of wellness, medicine, every topic that you want to know on life, love, health, fitness. We got you. It's your girl, Dr. Kwanzaa, MD. I am your board-certified emergency physician, also known as the DJ Doctor, best-selling author, DJ-ologist, all-around fun chick.
Right? Okay. Well, she's bomb. She's bomb.
And we're here today, and I'm like so super excited to have these amazing guests. But that is not me on the screen, but it's all good because y'all know who I am. But you can hit me on Instagram or Facebook at DRCWANZAMD on Facebook or DR_CWANZAMD on Instagram. We got lots of questions coming up. We got a really cool show about relationships, situationships, and what any of that means. And so we got two amazing guests here for you. So first I want to introduce Dr. Sherry Sawyerr.
What up?
What up? Oh my gosh. So this is like my sister from another mister. Love me some Dr. Sherry. And she is a psychologist by training.
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Wow. Well, the interesting thing is, how did I get interested in the field of psychology? Well, I remember, as you know, we had to take A&P.
Yeah.
And I had an A&P professor who was schizophrenic.
Okay.
And by that, he created these vivid images and pictures and drawings and things to help us remember. Like, I remember him specifically talking about, like, sex and sandwiches to understand the sympathetic and parasympathetic. And I was like,
that's pretty smart.
See? And it was just really profound. And then he shared with us, that he was schizophrenic and he has these moments and how he sees things, a little differently.
Yeah.
So from there, that really, really, really got me interested in the field of psychology during my undergrad years, and here I am today.
Okay, so I read your bio, so I learned some things new I didn't know about you.
Yeah, clearly.
Let's break it down. Well, I learned you have an extra R on your last name.
Double R, yes.
I've been spelling her name wrong for years. Sorry.
Yes.
But I love you, though. But also, I did not know that you were a TED speaker.
Yes, indeed. I got interested or became interested, I should say, because I'm really big on educating African Americans on mental health.
Okay.
It's one of those things that we just don't talk about. It's not understood. It's one of those things that, it's just swept underneath the rug. Oh, well, that's our crazy uncle, our crazy cousin, or our crazy auntie, and we really, really, really don't deal with it. So that's really why I try to use that platform to educate others about it.
Got you. And then also, you are anger management certified.
Yes, so if you need some anger management counseling or if you're required to do some anger management, please hit me up. I can help you with that. Yes.
Where would they contact you? Or what's your...
So what is my Instagram? Oh, okay. My Instagram is SweetSherry508, or you can contact me at 713-447-6067. That's my cell. Or you can reach me at dr.sherrysawyer@gmail.com.
Bro, you put the home phone on the... No, man.
That's a cell. It's
the work line.
Yeah,
okay,
no worries.
No,
Yes,
I should have
no
known.
worries.
Alternate number.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, we're so happy to have you, and definitely want to get your insight on this topic that we're
excited.
about to jump into. And I want to also introduce our second guest, my boo, my little sister, who I'm so proud of, who just wrote her first best-selling book called Dear Love.
The Cycle of Situationships.
Yes, take that mic, Jess. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got involved and interested in writing, and then we're going to dig into your book because it's really pretty interesting. I know we've had a lot of conversations about it. I think the listeners and our guests out there listening will want to know a lot about it. So tell us a little about yourself and tell us just give us a little hint about the book and where they can get it.
Well, of course. So I wrote a book, of course, Dear Love, The Cycle of a Situationship. And it's available right now just on my website. It's www.byjabuie.com. And you can purchase a copy there. It is kind of a free form, a free thought poetry book, should I say, with... I just kind of talk about the cycle of toxic relationships and situationships. As far as me, I've been writing since I was elementary school. I used to love to write. I love to read stories. And so it's always been a passion that I really didn't start to really push for myself until probably about a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And I always knew I wanted to write a book. I wanted to be like a New York Times best-selling author, which... I'm coming for you.
It's happening.
I'm
let's
coming
speak
for
that,
you.
speak that into existence.
But Dear Love is also kind of the intro or the segue into my next book, which is going to be a memoir.
Okay.
And it's called Dear Daddy, An Open Letter to an Absentee Father. So it just kind of sets the beginning of toxic relationships and how you get into those. And then I go back to starting to the very beginning of where it all comes from. Why do we deal with these types of situationships? Why do we get into them? And so that's what I really wanted to talk about. And so far, I've gotten some really good feedback from women that are like, "Oh my gosh, I can totally relate. Oh my gosh, you hit the hammer on the head with some of these, kind of thoughts and poems and stuff." And that's what I want to do. I want to make it relatable.
Very nice. Well, I mean, I think the interesting part in, the health and wellness portion of this show really is to shed light, I think, on the effects that emotional stress, relationships, personal relationships can have on your health, and why it's so important that we take care of ourselves and nurture ourselves and our personal relationships. Because one thing that we see a lot of times in the ER, and I see this on the back end, of course, is people who are suffering from either a crisis because they've been in a devastating relationship. They've tried to commit suicide because of the stress and ramifications of these relationships, or their blood pressure is sky high because they got into an argument with their boo. I mean, we see all this kind of stuff translate into, emotional distress permeating into health and wellness, and we end up treating it on the back end, which isn't very effective. So, that's really sort of the purpose of of starting this dialogue, because more than we know, our personal lives and our personal relationships and how we maintain those do affect our health as a whole. In fact, people who suffer with, who go through a divorce are like 3 times more likely to suffer from coronary disease, heart attacks, hypertension, stress-related disorders, coping disorders, and without appropriate treatment, it can lead to like lifelong and kind of some devastating effects. I mean, people really can die of a broken heart. That's for real. And we see it all the time. Married couples who've been married for 40, 50 years and the spouse dies, and then, 2 months later their wife or their husband dies. And so, we really just wanted to touch on the topic, but also the book you wrote is so interesting. So the title of your book again is Dear Love, The Cycle of Situationships. What is a situationship?
So a situationship.
Yes, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
What is a situationship?
What is it? Okay, so a situation, by definition, is a relationship with no title.
Okay.
Where you are committed to someone, and it goes a couple of different ways. This goes for, because I've had people say you can't be in a situationship if you're in a gay or lesbian relationship, and that is not true. But basically, a relationship where there is no title, no set title. So we're together, but I'm not going to call you boyfriend. I'm not going to call you girlfriend. Yet I want the benefits of what a boyfriend or a girlfriend would give me.
Yes.
I want that loyalty, that commitment of what a boyfriend or a girlfriend would give to me.
Well, let me tell you about this committed relationship we have with our sponsors. Unlike situationships, we got a full-fledged relationship with our sponsors here, and so we're gonna give them some love here. So this episode is sponsored by True Digital. You're online right now, and so are your customers. The question is, how do you actively reach them? Marketing has to be a consistent journey, and we're here to walk with you every step of the way. True Digital Media Consulting can help with website development, online ads, your business reputation, and organic growth on search engines. Give us a call today to discuss a customized strategy for your business at 832-934-4436 or send us an email to info@truedigitalmediaconsulting.com. Mention the Sphere to receive a free 30-minute strategy consultation. Thank you for that relationship, True Digital. We appreciate you. We appreciate the commitment, the time, the energy,
the dedication.
And dedication. So back to a situationship.
Let's talk about it.
So let me get your perspective. So you basically define it as like the gray zone of relationships, right?
It's a permanently gray zone relationship because being honest, 8-9 times out of 10, it's not going to turn into a relationship. It's going to, as long as you allow that person the benefits, it's like, why buy the cow when I can get the milk for free?
Yes.
Well, right. But is there ever a time, Dr. Sherry, when a situationship can be healthy? Can that ever be healthy?
Okay, so it depends upon what you're defining as healthy, and it might determine where you are in your life. So if you don't want the friends with benefit situationship, then you need to define that, and at some point you need to say, okay, it's either going to be A or B. But sometimes in certain situations, a situationship might be what you need in order to cope and deal with something. But I don't want to say it's always the best route or situation to go, because what's going to happen, somebody's going to get hurt, and then it becomes really, really, really complicated.
Well, what if you're just super honest?
Okay, and I like honesty. If you are honest and then person A is agreeing with the particular situationship, and then there it is. But then what happens when that situationship starts to cross over into that gray area? When the dopamine keeps firing and you're happy, and then you keep chasing that dopamine.
Lit, right?
Yes.
Or when
and you keep
decide
chasing
you
it.
want more.
Yeah, so then what happens when person A is then like, what it was, we defined it up front, or I shouldn't say we, I defined it up front. True. You know what it was, and this is what you agreed to, so why are you trying to change it now?
Okay. I mean, I feel that. And so, Jessica, from your view, and because you wrote the book,
hey, Katrina,
like, do you ever feel that there can be a non-toxic situationship?
I've never been in one.
I've never been in one either.
I mean, I've never been in a non-toxic situationship.
Right.
Is what I'm saying.
Right. No,
I've never been in one that was not healthy. I've never been in one that was not. No, it's not, because there's a lot of when you start to deal with someone on that level of a relationship and not giving the title, you're still giving the benefits. So the feelings are still there. The feelings will continue to evolve and grow. And as that, quite naturally, women especially, you throw sex into the game.
Yes.
We get all confused and we want more.
Chasing that high.
Yeah, the dopamine.
But okay, so let's break that down. So we define sort of what a situationship is. So it is the gray zone where there's not a label, correct?
Correct.
In which both parties are sort of acting as if they're in.
So
what would
I
be
feel
defined
like
as a relationship?
there are two-sided situationships and then there's one-sided situationships where
Correct.
a person will lead you to believe that you're in a relationship and telling you, oh, a title's not important.
Okay.
But everybody wants the title, right? You want the title. You want
Not
the title.
not everybody. So, also in terms of situationships, there's the courting, there's the dating. So I think the complication comes in when one party starts to have that conversation and then it's like, we're good. Why are you trying to put labels on things? We're okay. And then one person begins to settle. Then it's like, you know what? We're good. And then you become convinced, but then the conversation keeps coming up and keeps coming up. And then the person says, well, hey, we're good. Once again, why you keep trying to complicate things? We're going smooth. We're doing things. But then you kind of understand you're in a situationship maybe when you're trying to count on that person to do something or you need that person to do something and they don't show up, or I was in the hospital and the person didn't show up. So
Okay.
then you kind of realize, oh, this is not what I thought it was.
Right.
And then you really start reflecting and looking at the whole picture.
And so, in contrast,
Okay.
how would you define a relationship?
Okay. So a relationship will be when two consenting adults
Right.
when two consenting adults decide that this is what they want to do. I could throw the word monogamy in there, but for some people, maybe a relationship may be with more than one consenting person, if that's what they choose to do. But a relationship will be, or defined as, in my opinion, when you have two consenting adults, you're on the same page and you are trying to achieve the same goals and on the same path, and it's not one-sided. It's when that communication officially happens and you guys have sat down and tried to make a clear, concise path as to what it is that you want, where it is that you're trying to go, and what it is that you're wanting to achieve. There might even be some timelines and some goals in there as to, okay, at this mark, at a year or 2 year, but it's that consistent conversation, and both parties are open to that conversation because things may change over time. So it's all about being open, communicating, and hopefully staying on that same track that you want to be on, both
Nice.
parties.
Well, man. So we have really just got started in this
I know.
conversation. I mean, this
Right.
could go like a little after hours. I don't know. But so what that means, Facebook, is that we gonna say goodnight to you all. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't get the benefits of this show. What that means is that you need to subscribe to the podcast to get the full episode.
Subscribe.
So subscribe to our show on all major platforms, including iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, and Stitcher. Review our show in iTunes with constructive feedback. Share this Facebook Live post and the entire show with your family and friends. Donate to our mission to bring enriched and inspiring content each and every week. You can donate at www.thesphere.tv/donate. I know y'all are live. Y'all can stay live, but Facebook, we out. We love you.
Bye, Facebook.
So remember,
Thank
go
you.
to the little purple podcast button, press on that button, and search Docs and
We have
subscribe.
a question.
You got a question? Okay,
Yes,
what's up?
and to
What we
Rich,
got?
answer your question, it's not AMP, it's A&P, which stands for Anatomy and Physiology. But we have a question. It says, I feel, or a comment. It states, I feel that a situationship allows a person A and person B to not totally commit. Okay.
I mean, but that's pretty much right?
That's that's the gist of what it is. So, but you want the you want the benefits without the title because you don't want the commitment. And with a lot of people, the title comes with a commitment.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I still want your goodies. I still want your time. I still want your, those feelings and emotions that you give me. But when you're in the hospital, I may or may not come see you because you may or may not be a priority.
But what is it about a situationship that prompted you to write a whole book? So, like, what is it about the feelings and emotional ramifications of being involved in a situationship that inspired you to write a whole book about it? And the poems are dope, y'all. I need y'all to go to the website and get the book. Like, I've read through the whole joint. Like, it's dope.
It is.
Like,
It's a
really
quick
cool.
read. I made it a quick read.
Yeah.
But I really wanted it to be a message about just don't fall for these situationships. What is it about them? Because I feel like
they're comfortable.
That, but also, too, the day and age that we're in with single people and the dating arena these days is completely different than how it used to be. And henceforth, you have people that have more options. They want to see what's out there. But they want to kind of play in the pond, and they still want to, have you on the side. I just lost my whole train of thought.
That's okay.
They want to, they still want to play, but these are so much more frequent nowadays. And I've had enough to write a book about them.
Okay.
Which is why I did it. And I knew that I'm not the only one who's going through this.
Right.
Because if I'm going through it and I'm dating and out here and single, other people are running into this too. And so that's what made me want to talk about it, as far as putting my words and my thoughts about it in a book, to say, hey, this is how this goes. This is the cycle. And I mean, inevitably, like, try to avoid it at all costs, because it's not healthy. It's toxic. It's not healthy. You want a real relationship. You want a commitment. You want a title. You want the accountability there. And in a situationship, it just isn't.
And so, from you guys' perspective, how does one get themselves involved? Like, if you're not wanting to be in a situationship, what is it that enables you to put yourself in a position where you're in a situationship? What personal characteristics, what baggage would you say, what as a theme, what type of things could potentially allow you to end up in a situationship, whether you are wanting that or you're not wanting that?
You want to take that, or
I can speak for myself personally. Coming from a place of, like, hurt from, like, a previous situation, and just wanting something, or wanting to believe that this is only temporary, this will change.
Right.
A lot of it just comes from, honestly, insecurities as well. You want something, you want to be loved, you want to feel something, you want to have feelings. So you basically are settling for a little bit of something that somebody's giving you. So they're going to wag kind of this faux relationship in your face, and you're going to take it because you, in that insecurity, in that, place of brokenness and not really understanding or comprehending, that's what you end up doing.
Yeah, I like that, because it's almost like, when we're in relationships, it's almost, and I use this analogy a lot, it's almost like a snow globe. So when you have a snow globe and you put it on the table, it's pristine, it's perfect, everything is in place. But what happens when we shake up the snow globe?
Right.
Pieces and sprinkles and things start going everywhere. And then once the pieces start going everywhere, we have to identify certain things, like, oh my gosh, I do this, I cook, I clean, I'm supportive, financial, all this, but I don't have a title. So now you have to question yourself, how did I get here? How do I get myself out of here? And it's almost the fear of not wanting to lose this perfect image of this snow globe that you have.
Not the image.
Yes, the image. So therefore you don't want to shake it up. So you try to set that perfect snow globe, and it just keeps sitting there until you get to the point to where hopefully enough is enough. You get frustrated, or you have to end up in the ER, or you might have to come see me so we can discuss it and talk about it. But a lot of times people want to maintain and sustain that image, and that's pretty much what it is.
That's crazy. Well, it's not crazy. I mean, we see it all the time, right? Like, it's always like, your Netflix and chill.
Right.
It's always that person that doesn't really have a label that people are kicking it with, right? And we all see this in people's day-to-day lives all the time. in terms of like if we have to reverse the situation, because I personally believe in accountability, right? So you have
Yes.
to own the fact that you've involved yourself in this relationship or situationship. But what would you say would be the characteristics that people could look out for those who may be utilizing or manipulating a situation or the tangling or the dangling or waggling of the string?
We
or
have a
pulling
page
the
reference?
cheese
I'm glad you asked that question
of a
because
relationship. Like, how do you? Who is that person? Like, what are their characteristics? What should people be on the lookout for if they're trying to maintain a safe place and not involve themselves in that type of situation?
So
Maybe
that-
they're not sure.
so that person, and of course I'm going to reference the book.
Dear
That
love,
person looks like, and I talk about it in the beginning
Yes.
stages of when you're lusting. So I call it lusting for love. The beginning stages of a situationship, when you're getting to know, you're learning that person, and that person looks like, they're consistent. It's like a consistent inconsistency. Where
Well,
it's
I know you're gonna break it down.
where it's like, how can I say it? Where they're good. You know that they're going to, they're just not going to come through for you. They're just not going to be there. But it's consistent enough and you can't expect much because it's in the beginning, So it's like, what are you really?
But
You're
what
still
does
trying
that
to.
person look like? So, like, in my mind, when I think about someone who's maybe lopsided and already knowing off top that maybe they don't want a relationship, it's kind of manipulative, right?
It is.
They're not direct. They answer. It's one of those things. They answer the question just enough. They're a little aloof. They don't answer direct questions. It's one of those. Oh, well, you know where I was. Well, I asked, where are you? Where you know where I was. So why do we still need to talk about it? So it's never direct, concise questions. It's a little aloof, but they're baiting you and dangling that carrot just enough to keep you in there. And baiting could be, they may communicate with you consistently for 2 days, but then 3 days you don't hear from them, and then they're calling, hey, what's going on? I want to see you, but then they put you on time constraints. So yes, like you said, it is a little manipulative, so you have to be able to identify and understand that this is what this person is doing, because if you are in a situationship, there is no consistency.
Oh, I want to touch on that. But what is consistent is that this portion of the show is sponsored by The Sphere. So are you starting your business and looking for a place to advertise? Do you have a need to reach out to thousands of people across the world to build your brand or sell your product? If so, get your product placement and advertising needs handled right here at The Sphere. We offer a wide variety of content delivery platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, YouTube, and Stitcher. Plus, we have a vast demographic reach within the United States as well as modern countries across the globe. Our enriched content and inspiring dialogue coupled with your strategic ad is surely to hit the mark every time. Call us today at area code 832-772-7789 or send an email over to advertise@thesphere.tv. So I think one important thing that you referenced was inconsistency. And so it's interesting. So, and this study from psychology, but Pavlov's dogs. It's like it's a science. So people crave positive reinforcement.
Yes.
And one thing about manipulators, or I would say, or someone who maybe is not as intentional, is that I think when you start getting the feeling that, oh man, this person's bomb, and then all of a sudden it gets cold. And you crave that attention, that dopamine surge a little bit more. It's like you're hitting the button, just like in the experiment. And then they give you just enough to hook you back. You be like, oh, Boo's so sweet. Okay, girl, I'm back in that thing. And then they pull away. And so I think that's one of the telltale characteristics of, looking out for someone who may not be as intentional. And that's like a scientific proven study that's the way our brain works. We're we're created and designed by positive reinforcement. It's just how it goes. I mean, there's also scarcity techniques and other factors that play in, but once you start that reward system pathway, it tends to work. And people who know this, or they may subconsciously know it, they can use that to manipulate the situation. But
Right, it's almost learned helplessness 101.
oh, learn helpless. Speak on it, sister.
So learned helplessness is pretty much this. When you are justifying someone's behavior. So let's just say someone is physically abusive, and they want you to have dinner on the table at 6 o'clock. Okay, so something was happening. You were running a little bit behind. You got dinner on the table at 6:01.
Okay.
So you got dinner on the table at 6:01, but the person now becomes physically aggressive, verbally aggressive, and you take in and say, you know what, it's my fault because I was held accountable because he or she wanted me to have dinner on the table at 6 o'clock. So therefore, I didn't do what I was supposed to do, so I deserve what this person is doing to me. And that's classic telltale learned helplessness, which can also ties into the situationship, which means you can...
deep.
Yes. No, which can also tie into, man, he's not calling as much because, or she's not calling as much because I didn't do A, B, C, and D. So it's my fault. So now let me do a little more. It's my fault he or she won't commit because I'm not doing these things. So let me continue to do these things because in hopes of that will change the situationship and change their perspective.
I think, well, that's very,
That-
I'm sort of taking that in right there because, I mean, I think everybody has probably
Done that.
innately done that.
Oh,
I
yes.
think we all have fallen into a role, either in some relationship period, whether it's personal, work, whatever, where you can fall into that trap of learned helplessness. And that's a very, very poignant point. And so to touch on that, like, how would you say, if you're someone who knows, like, hey, I may be susceptible because I've had situations in my past, maybe I never really learned what a healthy relationship looks like, or even what that would feel like, how could you possibly avoid the toxicity or the unhealthy characteristics of a situationship?
I would have to say you gotta get your mind right first. You gotta get it.
Bam.
It starts with you.
You have to know yourself.
You have to know yourself. Know your self-worth.
Yes.
Know your value. Learn and understand what you're willing to accept, what you're not willing to accept. Because if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So you have to have your set. Your morals, your values, I will be with the person, I can deal with this and I can't deal with this. You have to know that up front going into something.
Okay, but
Period.
let's say let's just play devil's advocate, and you're broken. You've been hurt. You're tired. You're longing for love. How do you get yourself better?
You have to take time for self. I'm a true believer in, from every relationship that we have, whether it's a friendship or a relationship with a significant other, you have to take time to heal. And a lot of times people don't want to take time to heal and they just jump into another relationship. Why? Because what is it? It's the telltale Band-Aid. Because healing takes what? Even with the wound, doc, healing.
Time.
And you have to do what you need to do. If doc here says you have to take your antibiotics and do what you need to do, you have to have that time to heal. So people are afraid to go through that healing process. Why?
Right.
Because with the healing process, you have to be vulnerable. You have to accept certain things that happen or has happened to you, and you have to deal with it. And one thing as human beings that we don't like, what is it? I can't talk. What is it that we don't like to do? Take accountability sometimes and deal with situations, because when we deal with it, it's now what? A reality.
Right.
And then that's the telltale sign. So there are people who are serial daters, which will go from one relation to another one, or people who are married, which will go from one marriage. It's like, well, how long were you divorced? Oh, 6 months. It's like, okay. So it's important, and everybody's timetable is different. People know what they need in order to heal, but it's important that you take that time to heal. And however you do it, whether it is hopping on a plane and, I don't know, going to Arizona, or whether you're locking yourself in your house and you're writing, or whether you just start doing things for self, things that make you happy, finding your inner self back, what makes you smile. You have to make yourself a priority. And really, you have to start dating yourself. And then from there, that's when the pieces can slowly start coming together. But when you start hopping from A to B to C to D, what's happening? Are you ever having that chance to heal? Not at all.
Well, or you're healing in a relationship, which always adds, some flavor to the situation for sure. But also, I think one thing, and I strongly believe in, is therapy. I mean, I think it's super important.
Amen.
For people to be able to speak with a trained provider who can offer you unbiased insight. And sometimes, I've gone to therapy my own self. I mean, to get through relationship issues, just life stuff. I mean, because I think one thing that we don't acknowledge enough is that, life is hard, Joe. Like, there's a lot of things that transpire. There's things that happen in your childhood. There's things that happen in your day-to-day that you may not always have the tools to be equipped enough to handle them. And so I think it's really important that we kind of take that stigma off of going to counseling. I've been to counseling. Me and Dr. Batiste talk about all the time, like, girl, we love us some counseling because it's really good sometimes to have a non-biased trained provider tell you, look, boo, that is not healthy.
Yes.
Or your feelings are important. What you think about this or what boundary that you want to set forth is valid and important. And so I can't stress that enough, like the power of therapy or really seeking out a trained provider to help you work through some things. Because, my own self, I've had to work through some things to understand just even my thought process or my lack of understanding about a situation, period, whatever it was. But oh my gosh, again, relationships are positive ones here. I can't forget KOG and Company. That's my peeps. So this portion of the show is sponsored by KOG and Company. Are your unique gifts and talents changing the world? Unleash Your Dopeness is a people empowerment movement built to encourage the masses to operate outside of their fears and have the gall to recklessly pursue their dreams and passions in life. Join thousands of others as we unlock the greatness that dwells inside. Shop dope gear at KOGpassion.com. That's KOGpassion.com. And use coupon code DOPE for emphasis for 10% off exclusive Unleash Your Dopeness apparel. Act now. Sizes are selling out fast. KOG, they're off the chain. Love them. Dope. Get you some.
Yes.
Do it. And so, Jessica, one thing you talk about that we haven't brought up is really like, what is the cycle though? So you said, dear love, the cycle of a situationship. So what's the cycle?
So the cycle, kind of when you're in a relationship, it goes kind of, it's like a roller coaster that's just going around and around and around and around. You have your ups and your downs through it. So you start off on a high. You start off on, yay, this is fun. And then things start to get tough. Whereas, essentially it's the same as kind of a relationship where in a relationship, you're not always, hey, it's all good. So for that reason, the cycle of a situation is very similar to a relationship, meaning you have the highs and the lows. And it just goes around and around until you decide that, hey, this is not good. The bad part about it being because it's a situationship and it's not technically defined and it's not a real relationship and you're just kind of doing this and it's almost like, for what? Right. It's not even a commitment. This is not even a real relationship. So that's where the toxic part comes in.
But why do you think people get into a cycle? Because it happens one time, it happens twice. Like, at what point, why do people have such a hard time getting off the wheel?
Because a lot of times people like living in the Barbie dream house.
Gotcha.
And within the Barbie dream house, once again, it's that image. But then a lot of times people don't like to be alone. So it's one of those things that we settle for a piece of something, which is a situationship, versus stating that I need the whole person, or I would like to have the whole person, or I want a commitment. So you settle for a piece of a person and saying like, oh, okay, you tell it's that hoping and wishing, like that commercial.
Yeah.
They're going to change. I'm going to give them time. They're going to do this. I'm not going to go anywhere because I love him or her. I'm going to stay in the situation. I can help them change. I can help them do this. So a lot of times until, like Jessica said, until you set boundaries and you understand what it is that you're worth and what it is that you're willing to tolerate, because we all know what our boundaries are, and we're all willing to tolerate a certain amount.
Do we know what our boundaries are?
I've had to learn a little later, but
I mean, me too. I'm
most
just
of
saying.
us, that comes, I say, with time. Understanding and knowing how much you're willing to tolerate and what your boundaries are. And sometimes, like you said, going to therapy, I'm an advocate for it because I go to therapy myself. You do have to have that unbiased opinion of someone who's going to tell you, yeah, you're messing up, but they're going to tell you the unequivocal hard truth. But realistically, you do have to understand your boundaries, and you have to know enough is enough. But you have to be able to identify what is enough and how much you're willing to take. And sometimes that may take a little time, but that continues the cycle of the situationship. Now, if you're able to get out of the situationship early or the roller coaster ride early, that is wonderful. But sometimes going through that cycle helps you identify, this is not for me.
Right.
This is not what I want. Enough is enough. It's time for me, as Jess, as you say, kick rocks and keep it moving. And you have to keep it moving.
True. And sometimes it takes a couple times. I mean, nobody on this panel is perfect. I mean, Lord knows I'm not.
I am.
Hey, Amina.
Girl, bye. You done wrote the whole book on situationships, so you know. And so let's talk about, like, so how do you move on from a situationship? Like, what's the words? Like, how do you?
That goes back. Well, for one, I am an advocate of being single, taking time to, once you've gotten out of a toxic relationship or situationship or any type of relationship that you've been in.
That is your mantra.
Being
that
single?
is so your mantra.
What?
You're like, take some time, sis.
You have to take. You have to take the time to self-reflect. You have to take the time to learn what did I learn from this? Who am I? What, what's the good and the bad? What do I not like about me? What do I like about me? You have to take the time. If you jump into the next relationship, you're too busy trying to figure out the relationship and that person instead of taking that time for you to really, truly get to know you. So I'm an advocate for taking time,
because you're also taking all that emotional baggage with you. So you're taking that emotional baggage from A, and it's now going to B, and it's now the foundation, and then all these other things are happening, and you haven't even dealt with A. So these are now going to have situations that come in to the relationship because you still have this extra baggage that you are now rolling over. And we know, well, I know, when you have extra baggage with the airline, it costs a price, right? There's a fee.
Lord.
Who, Lord knows, I know.
And you know, baggage fees going up there every day.
That's the exact same concept. These baggage fees keep going up, and you're losing more, and it's costing you more. So at some point, like Jess said, you have to embrace your singleness. You have to take time for self, spending time with your friends. But I believe in dating yourself. Do what it is you need to do to make you happy. Allow yourself to feel that pain. Allow yourself to scream. Allow yourself to cry. A good friend of mine has always told me, sometimes you need to have a burial. Have a burial in your backyard, a whole ceremony for yourself. If you are a visual person, hey, Tanique, that's Tanika's mantra. But you need to go through the motions in order to let go.
Yeah.
And sometimes people need that physical example in order to fully let all of that baggage go. Because sometimes when you say you quit, are you really done? Are you really done? Depending upon the situation. But a lot of times what happens when Boo calls, hey, how are you?
That's part of the cycle,
I want to talk. Let's just meet for lunch.
That's part of the cycle,
or let me come over.
Yep.
I don't want anything. Let's just talk. I brought your favorite food.
Right. That's where those boundaries
That's absolutely
kick in.
part of it. Yeah.
or the block button, one of the two.
Ah, yes.
The block button.
Yeah. But the one thing I like about this dialogue is that I think we have really owned the fact that we all have to be responsible for ourselves and the relationships that we put ourselves into. Because really, at the end of the day, no one can do anything that you don't allow them to do. And I think it's really important. I really like the fact that your book sort of, is descriptive of the situations, but you don't let yourself off the hook with it. And even though, you do talk about, the characteristics of the other side of the situationship, ultimately, I think what can be really gained from the book is the empowerment of saying, hey sis, I've been in this situation, or hey bro, I've been in this situation, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. You don't have to accept that. I mean, what's your thoughts? So and then tell us where we can get the book again. So let's shout that out one more again.
So to first just say, you can get the book online on my website. It's www.byjabui.com. And second, I will say, to go back to what you were saying, ask that question again. I'm sorry.
Well, Jessica,
I
my memory
I'm
is
scatterbrained
bad.
right now.
It's okay. But, what we're kind of saying is that, I think, your book, it does a great job of one characterizing various situationships, but also but giving you the space to own your part in the situationship, and then calling out some characteristics of people who may try to bring a situationship to reality.
Yes. So I do talk about, I think the accountability is it's what you allow. So you're allowing these things to happen. You have to acknowledge that. You can't just put all the blame on that person. That person did this, that person, because you stay in that victim role when you do that. You become a victim, you stay a victim, because it's you, them, they. Everyone else did something to me and I did nothing. But you allowed these things to happen. You let that person, you saw the signs, you saw the warnings over and over again, yet you continue to allow that person to walk all over you or do whatever it was that they did to you.
Yes.
You have to take accountability. And that is a part of, like I said, self-reflection and taking a step back to own that. You have to own that. You have to understand and realize what you did, so that can prevent you from doing it again.
That's right.
Very
you have to
true.
understand the role that you played, because the most important thing is you can't be self-blaming or self-loathing all the time. You have to take accountability, and you have to say, I allowed this person to do this to me. And it was not just once. It's not twice. I allowed them to do whatever it is going on in the situationship. And you do have to take accountability. And part of the accountability is walking away. Part of the accountability is stating, I'm not going to deal with this anymore. And that's when your process in healing begins.
Say it again.
Amen. Hallelujah. Did
So,
we just go to church?
We did. Yeah. I think we need a hallelujah.
We did.
Yes.
So let's get y'all's last thought. So Dr. Sherry, anything you want to impart to our listeners out there?
Oh my goodness. I definitely know there is this book that I've talked about. It is in addition to Jess's book, which is totally awesome. It is Life is Not Complicated, You Are, by the author, and there it is, by author Carlos Wallace. And I think the name it says a lot. Life is not complicated. You are. So when you take that accountability, when you take that responsibility and say, hey, it is my fault. When you know you went out and you did all this Christmas shopping, knowing your mortgage is due on the 1st.
Right.
You have to take accountability, right? So that's the same thing with relationships. You have to take accountability in the part that you played in this situationship. But then once again, it's understanding self, it's understanding the signs and not willing to accept it. And then if you are accepting it, why are you accepting it? What is going on? What are you missing in your life that you are trying to feed? What is it that you are trying to fill? Why is it that this person has put you in this situationship? I don't want to say put you, but you've allowed yourself to be in this situationship. But why do you continue to stay? How are you really benefiting from this? How is it really helping you?
Right.
So I think from that perspective, you really have to look at the whole picture once a situationship becomes toxic. But you know what is toxic, because everybody's toxicity level is different.
True.
You know, once again, what you're willing to tolerate.
Jess, any last words?
And don't stay in the situationships.
No, don't. Go buy the book. Read the book. It's
Read the book.
relatable. It's a short read.
I mean, I feel like we need a part 2 on this. 'Cause, like,
Yes,
there's so
let's
much
do
more.
it. I
We're gonna knock
think
it out.
I
We're gonna
think
knock
we
it
do.
out.
I think we need a part 2.
But I would definitely say that too. If you're in a situationship currently, not knowing what to do, you keep going back and forth. You're like, I'm done today. You're back tomorrow. I'm done today. I'm back tomorrow. You got to kind of ride the wave, because you can't really make the change and move on until you're, and I got this from my mom. Shout out to my mom. She always says, you're not going to make the change until you're sick and tired of being sick and tired.
True.
Yes.
So once you get to that point, then you can begin the process, because even at the initial breakup of a situation or a relationship, there's going to be some back and forth a little bit sometimes. Once you've finally done, you take that time and you heal and you self-reflect. Think about what you need to do. I know that I did therapy too. We talked about therapy earlier. Meditating, reading, being by myself a lot helped me a lot to get to a better place of knowing and understanding what it is that I want and what I don't want.
I love it.
So
So, my thoughts, number one, I just believe in helping people with tools. So if you feel like you are stuck in a situationship, you can always holler at me, Dr. Kwanzaa MD. I do coaching. We'll get you through it. We will get you through that situationship. So you can hit me on my website at www.drkwanzaamd.com. You can make you an appointment and we can talk about it confidentially. But the one thing I wanted to impart is that when you're looking at your relationships as a whole, is that you basically may fall into 3 categories. Is one, are you the victim? Are you being a martyr, or are you making somebody a hero? And all of those 3 points of a triangle at either corner is going to be detrimental to your overall success in that relationship. And so you want to try to stay in the middle and stay away from those areas, because ultimately the victim who idolizes the hero will eventually resent that person, and that resentment will turn into rage at some point, and then the hero will hate the victim, and then the martyr just is going to lay it down. And we don't want you in any of those spaces. Relationships are supposed to be they're supposed to be happy spaces. They're supposed to be spaces that you feel safe. They're supposed to be spaces where you can be yourself, where you can be engaged, where you can share your hopes and passions. And it's very difficult to do so without intentionality. And so that's one thing that I would definitely recommend as a tool, is to ask the harder questions up front. What are your intentions? What have your previous relationships been like? Do you have problems with commitment? I'm looking for a commitment, and really asking those tough questions, even if it makes you uncomfortable, just to allow yourself boundaries to start opening at the front door. Because the people who don't want to deal with that or are looking for situationships, baby, they will scatter like some roaches. And so, there are definitely ways that you can protect yourself. And sometimes it just takes a little practice and a little bit of guidance and a little bit of help with exercising your boundary muscles. And so there is help out there for that. Again, I preach therapy all the time. Again, you can hit me up for coaching anytime. You can hit me on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and we talk about these things a lot with our clients. So I just want to really encourage you, if you feel stuck, there is action out of that. All you have to do is just, it's just one thought. Start with a thought. Start with a thought that your relationship can be better, and most importantly, be better with yourself first. And so that's what I wanted to impart as we kind of leave out this evening. And we want to thank you guys so much for joining us. I want to thank Dr. Sawyerr and Jessica,
Thank you.
best-selling author, Billie.
Hey.
Feature New York Times bestseller.
We're going to get to that New York Times.
Yeah,
though.
we
We're
are.
gonna get to that New York Times.
For coming on and flash your book again so everybody can see like the dopeness of this joint right
There
here.
it is.
And the poems are really amazing. I don't think I've really read like a good short form
And there's
poetry.
pictures, remember?
Yes, there are pictures.
Some really dope pictures in there.
There are. And it's really cool. And she holds no punches. We kept it PC on the show, but we might have to have an after hours joint where we
Ooh,
really
that would
talk
be
in
nice.
detail. That'd be pretty cool.
Gets
But
a little X-rated.
that's all right. That's life, right? We're
That
all
is.
adults here.
That is.
But we want to thank you again for joining us this evening. And again, please reach out to our guests. You can hit them on their social media, and they would love to hear from you. And don't
Yes.
forget to please subscribe, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and give us your feedback. Let us know what you want to see more of, what you think we could do better, and just holler at your girls. And, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.